Hi, welcome to the channel. Today is the first day of 12th chapter, that is how to franchise yourself. Let's start. Instructions on cloning yourself for fun and profit. As business model go, buying a franchise that is based on someone else's company is usually a bad idea. The basic buy or franchise pitch runs like this: raise a quarter of $1 million by withdrawing your life savings, borrowing from family members, and maxing out your credit cards. Pay most of that money up front to a company that will generously allow you to work for it. Operate the business precisely the way they tell you, with no exceptions allowed. Every decision, from whom you hire to what services you offer to where you locate your store, is made by the company. They will even tell you what color shirt you are required to wear in your own business. If the business succeeds, you will make an average of $47,000 a year after scrapping by for 3 years on the same 50-hour working work weeks you could spend at someone else's company with a lot less stress. In this winning scenario, your ultimate success won't be that you started a business. You will have bought yourself a job. If the business fails, which happens more often than most franchise companies want to admit, the company will take back the store from you and resell it to someone else. When they do this, they don't count your failure as a store closer in their statistics. Thus, when you hear statistics that suggest a high percentage of franchise locations remain open, you have no idea who is operating them and who owes $250,000 that they have no way to repay. How does the proposal sound to you? Probably not so great, which is why buying into someone else's operation is usually the opportunity it may seem from the outside. Thankfully, there's an alternative. Building a real business of your own, something that you have ownership of and control over. Buying into someone else's franchise is usually a good idea, but figuring out how to leverage your own efforts is almost always worth careful consideration. You are only one person, or maybe two. Who says you can't be in more than one place at one time? In fact, there are several ways to grow a business through the use of leverage. Franchising yourself isn't just doing more, it's about taking your skills, activities, and passions to a higher level to create better returns. The difference between franchising yourself and just doing more is that you take the time to be strategic. Let's look at a couple of examples. Natalie Lucier was an up and coming software engineer originally from Quebec. She had interned in Silicon Valley and now had the chance to take a big job on Wall Street. Her family said it was the job of her dreams, but as Natalie thought more about it, she realized it was the job of someone else's dream. Turning down the offer, she returned to Canada and decided to pursue a different idea. Natalie had a personal success story of dramatically improving her health after switching to a raw foods diet. Eating only fruits, vegetables, and nuts sounded crazy at first, but the results spoke for themselves. In the first month, she lost more than 10 pounds and suddenly had energy throughout the day. As she talked with her friends, Natalie was a natural evangelist, not pushy or judgmental, but offering tips and strategies that people could use to make real improvements, even if they weren't ready to jump into a completely raw diet as Natalie has had done. After relocating to Toronto, the idea was to build a small business helping other people make the adjustment to raw foods. Being a software engineer and a self-described geek like Brett Kelly in chapter 4, Natalie programmed a database, set up an app, and built her own website. The first incarnation was a raw food switch, which correctly represented the concept but seemed a bit boring. One day, Natalie noticed that the same letters and therefore the same website could be rendered as a raw food switch, leading to a new theme dressing in character with a pointed black hat for photo shoots. She rebranded the whole business around herself. Nathalie created programs, one time products, and individual consultation sessions in the same way we have seen others do throughout the book. Raw Foods, which grew into a $60,000 business after the first year. What's not to love? Just one thing. From the outside, she told me a vegetarian restaurant in Toronto. It looked like all I talked about was raw foods. No one realized I had done all the programming and really enjoyed the intersection of business and technology. The second business came about unexpectedly after Natalie began getting tech inquiries from her raw foods clients who were also creating businesses. She decided to create a separate brand for tech consulting, operating under her own name instead of moniker she used in the other business. Raw Foods, which is still a powerful brand, friends and clients report that other shoppers have mentioned her in the grocery store when they see a careful of avocados. avocados. But she restructured the business to run on 80% autopilot. It still brings in a good income, but now Natalie spends her time building the second business instead of doing one or the other. Natalie effectively franchised herself. After Natalie set up the tech consultancy, she had to go back to the raw foods business and make some changes. The business had always been dependent on new products and launches. And since her focus was now elsewhere, she had to reduce that dependency while ensuring that it would produce income on a more regular basis. Across the border and a few states away, Brooke Thomas founded New Haven Rolfing, a holistic health practice. The clinic attracts a clearly defined group of clients, people who want to address chronic pain and mobility problems. No one comes to see Brooke when they are feeling great, but the time they arrive at New Haven Rolfing, many have gone through a long list of other treatments that haven't helped them. Brooke is a testimony testimony to the treatment she provides. She became pain free through Rolfing after 23 years having lived her whole life to the point with problems related to a birth injury. Before she moved to Connecticut, Brooke operated similar businesses in California and New York. With each move, she learned a little more about what to do and what to avoid. Opening the same kind of business in different cities was insightful. After moving to New Haven, she had filled her client list within 4 weeks, and then she took on a partner to manage additional appointments. A single mother with a young child, Brooke works part time but still earns more than $70,000 a year from the practice. Repeated success in different cities involved getting to know other care providers, and Brooke noticed that some were more business savvy than others. By using her real world experience, Brooke created Practice Abundance, a training program for other wellness providers. After a series of support modules and a community forum, Practice Abundance was a business course that focused strictly on ways to improve a practice. Other resources took a very traditional approach. In Brooks' words, they assume that everyone wants to get an MBA when the reality is that most of them just want to run their practice better. Brooke had diversified to two groups of people, those she served through individual care and her fellow caregivers who could benefit from non MBA business advice. Both Natalie and Brooke found a way to reach two different audiences, a core group and a related group. As a business growth grows and the business owner begins itching for new projects, he or she essentially has two options for self-made franchising. Option 1, reach more people with the same message. Option 2, reach different people with a new message. Either option is valid and both can be rewarding. For the first option, it may be helpful to think of the hub and spoke model when building a brand, especially online. In this model, the hub is your main website, often an e-commerce site where something is sold, but it could also be a blog, a community forum, or something else. The hub is a home base with all the content curated by you or your team, and ultimately where you hope to drive new visitors, prospects, and customers. The spokes, also known as auto posts are all the other places where you spend your time. These places could include social networking sites, the comments section of your blog or other blogs, actual meetings or networking events, or something else. You can see how this works in the image below. The goal for each of the autoposts is to support the work of the home base, not usually the autopost itself. It can be a trap to spend too much time with any of the autoposts because things change. Some autoposts become less popular over time. You also own the content and work you create in the home base, whereas most of what happens in an auto post is owned by another company. Disaster and recovery stuck in Mali again edition. As a full time freelance photographer based in Accra, Ghana, Niani Queerman is no stranger to adventure. In West Africa, there are few laws that are widely followed, especially when it comes to copyright and intellectual property. Most of the time, everything works out, but not always. Here's how Niani tells the story. When I was just starting out, I shot a couple of small jobs for a Ghanaian creative agency. Shortly thereafter, I got a call from them asking if I could do an urgent shoot for a new client necessitating travel to a couple of countries in the region. The deadline was really tight. It was a get the call today and leave in the morning kind of thing. And even the details of exactly where we would be going remained in flux until the last minute, having shot for the agency before they had seen and signed my contracts previously. And I made the mistake of thinking they understood how I work and the basis of which I was undertaking this job. So, in the rush, I omitted to get the paperwork squared away and off we went. The shoot went really well, and I produced what I considered to be some very strong work. All was well until we were on the rural road, far from any city or airport. While we were driving along, the client demanded copyright of the images, not part of the deal as far as I was concerned, and threatened to have me detained at a remote border in a politically unstable nation unless I handed them over. Not wanting to sample the hospitality of the local gendarmes, conceded and lost some of the strongest images I had shot to date. I learned my lesson, though. Next time, be sure to get the paperwork done first. Okay, we will start a partnership how 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 in the next session. If you are new on the channel, subscribe the channel and press bell icon so that you will get notification about new video upload. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you so much.